Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro friends. Depending on whether you're watching this live or whether you're listening to this through your devices, happy Friday or happy Monday. Only a couple of people only a couple of people watch this live and 11,000 people listen to each episode. So most of you, for this discussion, the topic is how will you challenge yourself this week? But for those of you that are watching live or watching today on Friday, it's how have you challenged yourself this week? The crux of this discussion, or what I want to share with you, is the idea that on a weekly basis, we have to be very deliberate about the intention behind how we want to move through our week and determining how we're going to challenge ourselves very deliberately every week is so important to the way we move through our lives. Map It Forward is about having a very intentional approach to the career or business or both that you're building for yourself so that you can live a more substantial, fulfilling, and elevated life in general. And at the core of that is the idea of conspiring to each other's success and building the life that you choose. And I live by example. And so for me, every week, I take a look at what it is that I would like to feel at the end of this week about the way I moved through this week. And I, in particular, drive myself to growth through challenging myself, which means I have to do the hard shit. And so we have an episode on doing the hard shit. I recommend that you go and have a listen to that. But challenging yourself is at the core of continuing to drive growth within yourself. For me, I challenge myself in all different parts of my life, physically, mentally, from the health perspective, through my business, through my career as an employee of my business. All of these are different ways that I'm very conscious of ensuring that I challenge myself every week so that I can ensure that the week hasn't been wasted. So a couple of ways that I have done that this week that I would like to share with you. I personally, from a health perspective, I personally struggle with, and I always have, ever since I was a kid, I've felt challenged in being motivated to do exercise. And so this week, like last week, excuse me, I challenged myself to make sure that I walk 2 miles every single day. And I do a gratitude practice while I'm doing that for the first 15 minutes of that. It usually takes me, I'm quite slow. It usually takes me about 45 minutes to do a 2-mile walk. But the first 15 minutes of that walk is my gratitude practice, which is also something I challenge myself to do every day because I have a natural tendency towards anxiety and depression. And so my medicine for that, after 44 years, has been to focus on gratitude. And I'm happy to tell you it is absolutely working. It is absolutely working. My mind feels the healthiest it's ever been. My body feels better. I feel that I'm not drenching my body constantly with cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And that's because I ensure that throughout the day, I focus on gratitude. I wake up and the first thing I do is tell myself, name 3 things that you're grateful for right this second. Having a comfortable bed is usually one of them. But the fact that I'm excited about the rest of the day is usually another one, and the third one will usually change. But getting to the end of the day and going to, I usually do it around sunset, usually after this podcast, going and doing that walk and ticks off one of my challenges for the day and for the week. And then being very deliberate about being grateful. Now, those two things are very challenging for me because they are for me. And that is not something that I am very good at, which is doing things for myself. I haven't been conditioned as I was during my critical phase, the first 7 years of my life. I wasn't conditioned to put other people before myself. So putting myself before work and putting myself before other people by being grateful and by going and having a health practice is really challenging for me. You might think it's silly, but like I've said many times on this podcast, you do you, boo. I'm going to do me. We all have different challenges. Another challenge that I undertook this week was boundary setting with regards to my work, and realizing that I needed to say no to a couple of people, and I didn't want to say no, but I had to. The simple fact of the matter is right now we have some clear, decisive goals for Elixir. We have some clear, decisive goals for Map It Forward. And taking on board other people's projects is just not something that I'm going to have time for. And it will mean letting myself, other people, and the projects I've already committed to down. And I'm not prepared to do that. At the end of this week, I can look back and say, well, yeah, I did my 2-mile walk every day. I did my gratitude practice every day. I was able to successfully say no to those projects with good reason. And they were just 3 of the challenges that I had set for myself. And I feel really great about it because I can see a progressive growth from the beginning of the week to the end of the week that seems to make doing those things moving forward easier because I am practicing repeatedly doing those things that are challenging for me. And in doing so, I'm breaking habits. I'm forming new neural pathways that are my new normal. By doing these kinds of things, all these little things collected together, put together, start to shift and shape the direction of your life. The same thing, excuse me, the same thing when we challenge ourselves with regards to the way that we think about things. And what I mean here is it could be something simply as benign as I'm going to challenge myself with regards to the way that I think about a particular brew method, or the way that I roast coffee, or about the way that I view a piece of equipment that I use. I'm going to shift or challenge my thinking to be open to considering how I could do things differently. Now, I may get to the end of that and decide that I'm not going to do it differently, but the one thing I am going to commit to is that I am going to, with an open mind, consider the pros and cons of what this new brew method, roast technique, piece of equipment, insert thing that I do the same every single fucking day here, and I'm going to give it a chance. I gave something that I didn't think was going to be as good as it was. I did that this week. I gave steeped coffee a go. It's the ground coffee in, they say that they're not tea bags, but I don't know how to describe it any other way than tea bags. So it's ground coffee in steeped bags, which look like tea bags. And I got to tell you, it impressed the fuck out of me. It really did. And the only reason it could impress the fuck out of me is if I gave it the opportunity to, by having an open mind. Earlier versions of me wouldn't have been as open-minded to that. That would have looked at it and gone, fucking coffee tea bags. That can't be specialty coffee. It is. And it tastes great. And kudos to Josh Wilbur and his team because they've created something really great. Disclaimer, this is not an ad. I'm not getting paid to say any of this. It was just a challenge that I set for myself that ended up with a really great result. Teaching yourself to be open-minded using challenge is great. You are the direct benefactor of that. And so I invite you, whether you are watching this on a Friday or you are listening to this on a Monday morning, I invite you to set some goals for the week ahead and really explore how you're going to challenge yourself and make this idea of challenging yourself deliberately every week a new practice. And let me know how you go. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.